Scott and I are just always experimenting, and we are live, and we're talking on Wednesday as our usual
The
shtick.
same thing we always do.
Yep.
I was just telling Ellis that sorry, I'm gonna follow us on. I have a TV up there. I'm gonna follow us on. I was telling Ellis that I am erasing. I'm working on finishing up pages for issue 3 of Heaven's Rejects, and so I'm at the point that I hate, which is basically busy work. It's
Yeah.
production stuff, and it can be a grind, and I dread it much more than I need to. And
Yeah. It's one
so,
of those things when you get into it. If you're like me, my dad always used to say the best drivers he knew were guys
yeah,
that were kind of stupid. Because I'm sorry, because that's all they paid attention to. Their mind didn't wander
oh yeah,
from the task of
no,
driving. And
that makes sense.
I often wonder about my pleasure that I take in little tasks like that. So that means
Oh yeah, then
my
maybe for little,
mind isn't wandering from something that should just be boring the hell out of me.
you're
Uh,
very simple-minded, I guess
yeah,
is
I'm saying that's the sort of work that's really for the simple-minded. But I always enjoy it. I always like that process stuff.
Oh, you like your racing? Okay, I'll remember that. I
Well, I would like right now. This is the home stretch of this stupid digital inking, and
oh yeah,
you know, I'm getting into
inking's
it,
another
kind of.
thing. Inking's another thing where you just go. I think a lot of my problems or a lot of my reluctance to do this, the reason why I put this off is longer than I should have is just I'm like once I draw it, I don't want to visit it again. It's
Sure.
like oh, and then I look at it and I go, man, issue 4 looks so much better than issue 3, but
No.
done is done.
Well, yeah, there's all kinds of little endeavors like this that you have to return and do iterations of everything. I was I don't know how anybody can keep their sanity at a place like Pixar where you are not done after the 1000th run at assembling a scene and stuff like that, because they massage that stuff to you wouldn't believe it.
Yeah.
They're always working on that story, because until they hit the button for the final render, it's always just placeholder stuff
Yeah.
up
You see,
until they're ready to go.
do you see this eraser, Ellis?
Oh, is that what you're
That's it.
using? Okay.
This is the eraser I'm using. It was a full size eraser when I started this
Oh my
comic.
God.
No, I think it was actually half. It was probably about this big. So that's how much erasing I've done. you know, it's about to the point. Well, it's small enough. I think I'm gonna stop using it and throw it in my bag to carry around with me. It's perfect size eraser for a
Yeah.
to carry with your sketchbook. You don't need a big one. I'll
I
make
think
another one here. Do what?
I think you may need to lighten up on your touch on your pencils a little
Well,
bit.
I need to. I don't know. There's a lot of things I need to do. Well, and I know like last week or the week before, you even mentioned that. You said there's a lot of pencils on that page.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like
But
wha-
well,
wha- yeah, go ahead.
well, I was going to say the thing is there are two things that one I could get away with lighter pencils, but I don't like using real hard pencils because I feel like they leave grooves in the paper and it's just I'm harder to work on. Um,
Well,
Hang on
I
just a
think you
second.
need to
Oh, that was
I think
okay.
you need to make a kind of a practice of going from less pencil to inks on a regular basis as a practice,
I agree.
just
Yeah,
just
no, no, no.
a new thing to experiment with.
Well, and here's the other thing that you got to realize, because I have a couple of those artist edition books, and in all but one of them you can see pencil marks.
Yeah.
And in the scan, but I am erasing everything. I am super thorough because I don't want to have to go back and fix it in Photoshop.
Yeah.
And some of it will drop. Some of it you won't. Some of it will definitely drop out. But I just want it to be. I don't want to have to mess with it once I'm. I'd rather. It's easier to erase than to fix in Photoshop.
Yeah. It is nice to start with a clean
Because then you get it.
scan. Yeah.
Well, and you saw those scans of mine. They look. The scans in great.
Hmm.
And anyway, so I'm going back, and I mean, I've got a pen here. I'm touching stuff up because well, what's funny is it's funny how much stuff I found where it's like, oh crap, I didn't ink that. I missed something.
Well, yeah, that can happen where you
Oh,
when
but it's
you're
like an edge of
inking
an arm or
sure.
any
It's
line.
like, wow, this is a nice experimental lost line. Look, no, it's I lost that line and meant to put it in.
Yeah, I lost that line when I inked it.
Yeah.
The other thing is you appreciate. See, like this page is done. That was very quick.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the earlier ones. Well, I'll tell you something else, Ellis, on this. Some of the panels I changed in between pencils and inks. And so I had, and I've thought about, I think I've done this page already. Okay. I thought about doing a blue line, but I haven't. I need to figure out if my blue line. That needs to be an experiment that I run. Does my blue line disappear when I scan it? Because I scan it in black and white. I think I told you that.
Yeah.
And it drops a lot. I mean, it's if anyone out there, I don't know if anybody's listening. I'm looking at the thing. If I tell you, if you're doing a comic book and you scan it, and you're scanning your inks, the trick is, and I was told this by what's his name, Riley, one of the Deadpool artists, because I was asking him about scanning, and he told me that he scans his at black and white, 1200 DPI is what he scans his inks at. And if you do that, it comes out beautiful. Now he scans them at 1200, and then he reduces it to I think he said 400. You only need 300 to print. But the trick is you never want to make it. You can make your inks gray, like if you got to add, because black and white you can't put multiple layers in Photoshop. So, but you can, once you scan it black and white, that layer will always be black and white. And it won't. And what I mean by that is it won't have. What you don't want is you don't want anti-aliasing. That's where. Right. So when you zoom in on it, it has the lines are sawtooth. They're not gray. You don't want that gray because they look fuzzy. But you want your resolution to be high enough so that the sawtooth basically vanishes at actual. So I scan them, actual size, 1200 DPI, reduce to 400 DPI. And then what you want is you want to save it as a TIFF, a black and white TIFF, and it won't add anything. And you can, and what's great is I've kind of got a little deal where I can do it pretty quick because I letter. I don't know if you can see this. What I letter. Oops, sorry.
Here, I'll solo you. There
okay.
We go. There we
I
go.
letter on the this is basically my thumbnail that I scanned in and then flip it and I print it on the back. Mm-hmm. But if you look, you'll see it's lettered. Oh, hang on. It's lettered. And the reason why I do that is so when I'm drawing it on I have a light pad that I draw it on, so I can see my thumbnail. So I'm drawing on top of my thumbnails, and so I don't have to. Oh, I don't. I could print them out separately, but I don't see any reason why. I just print them on back and flip them over. I'm using just blank Bristol, and that saves me paper because I'm not printing it twice. It saves me. I hate taping it down and taping the page down. To me, this is the way to go. Um,
Having that image that's just being punched up right on all, it's just one sheet of paper.
yeah, it's great. It's easy to do, and I then and put my lettering on there. The lettering isn't done; it's just placed. So it doesn't have a balloon. It doesn't have and really that's just to see how much room I have basically. Because I'm getting a feel for this writer, so I think I'd do better now than I did at the first. But man, the last thing you want is to get to the lettering stage and realize I didn't leave enough room for all this.
Yeah.
And that's super easy to do, especially if you're
No, no.
working with and I'm not talking about my writer necessarily because he's pretty good, but if you're working with a writer that likes to write too much,
Right.
they'll fill that page with words, and so that allows me to see. So then what I do is I draw it and then I ink it and then I scan it and I get that 1200 DPI and I save that. I save it at 400 DPI as a TIFF, and that is my inks. I save it in a folder called inks, and it's is it labeled inks? Yeah, it's labeled inks. And so I have a layer that I have one file that it's not layered, it's a single layer, but it's just a black and white high resolution of my inks with no lettering, no sound effects. And so that way if they need to change something, I've got that file to change it. Like if they get done and they're like, "Oh, there's a misspelling," or the writer wants to make a change, I have that, save that, and then I bring that into. I have a file or a folder that's got a Photoshop file in it, and it is layered, and it's the file that has everything in it. It has my thumbnails, it has my pencils if I scanned them, and that's kind of my master file. And I put the inks in there, and then I'll take that, I'll save it, then I'll take that into Illustrator. In the file that originally did the letters on, I've saved that in Illustrator. So there's an Illustrator file that has all the letters. I build it so that, and I've got a template that's got multiple layers, so I can turn layers on and off or lock them really. And the art goes in one layer, and it's reduced to 40% opacity. Then then I have a layer that has letters, and I have a layer that has balloons, and I have an extra layer that I call signs. That's just for anything that I need wording for.
Captions.
Like, well, no, captions will go in wording, but yeah, anything. Like I did one.
Oh, I got you.
One like the issue I'm working on now. Part of it takes place at a convention for serial killers, and so I'm about to go in and build signs for all that stuff, all the booths. That'll probably go in. It's just so I can move it around
Mm-hmm.
without interfering anything. And anyway, so I'll go in and I'll finish the lettering, which is basically add the balloons, and I'll respace it. I try and read the balloon out loud and think about the cadence of somebody talking. And I don't want there to just be one balloon with. I've been reading lot of Bronze Age comics, and I've noticed they'll be real wordy, but they'll break it up. So there's
Right.
not a lot of it's not like one big block of text. So that's what I do there, and I'll base it on the speech cadence. So it's like, hey, if the line is like, hey, you big meanie, you suck. I might put like, hey, you big meanie, you suck. And I may make like suck bigger or something.
Yeah.
I go through and make some of the words bold, like the Kirby kind of thing. Which I didn't even realize I was halfway through, but the writer had actually indicated that by underlining stuff. I was like, oh, that's why he underlined stuff.
Uh-huh.
But I was already doing it. We were kind of thinking on the same wavelength. which is scary. But
Well, that's ultimately you kind of figure out that there's probably only one right way to do most anything. And
yeah,
so since you guys are on the same project, you would kind of converge on things like that.
yeah, I think so. I think that's true. But so then I've got my Illustrator file, my layer with my lettering. I'll copy the layers that I want to go into the Photoshop file, and I'll paste them in that Photoshop master file, and that'll be the lettering layer, and it's usually just the letters and balloons, and then I will turn off every layer except for the ink layer, the lettering layer, and there's a layer that I call what do I call it? I think it's called trade dress or something like that, but it's just our names at the top and the page number.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll turn all that off, and then I make that black and white, which flattens it, and then I'll save that as a TIFF, and it really looks good, you know, if I say so myself. There's another thing I didn't ink, but anyway, so I've been doing this. I think I started like Friday. So I had a real busy weekend working on this, and then Monday was holiday, of course.
And you're coping with the new mental stress of being back at work.
Yes, well, I am sort of at work. I've been working. First, I've worked this whole time. I've been fortunate enough that I've been able to work. My company or specifically the owner, is kind of committed to keeping us all employed, which is nice in this time. And so I've been working from home, but even my employees who were unable to work at home got paid, which was nice. But I am going back in the office. My office is open back up again, and I've been going. In fact, I went in the office today, and I talked to the vice president who's over my department. There's multiples, but the one that's over my department came by my office today, and I talked to him, and I said, when are we going? Because what we're doing is one person is going in per day, one of the artists. And so me and a couple of my guys are kind of rotating. And he said, well, we'd like to have you all back in permanently Monday. I go, I'm game for that. And I know my guys are game for it. So, the company is really taking care of us. Condolences or whatever to anybody that's lost their job this time, because it'd be a terrible time to have to look for a job. I know many, many people have lost their jobs, so I feel very fortunate to have kept mine.
Yep.
I've gone through times in my life where I've worked at my work for like 30 years. And I've gone through times where it's like, oh, this place sucks, I gotta get out of here. But when you really analyze it and you realize, well, I gotta have a job. You might as well have a good one,
Oh yeah.
And sometimes you get tricked into thinking,
an easy one.
Or an easy one. Yeah, well, so I think that's kind of what I was getting ready to say is, you get tricked into thinking, well, there's a better job out there or whatever. But sometimes you gotta, what's the thing? You dance with the partner that brought you or whatever.
I don't think that's how it goes.
Oh, okay.
God, I'm kidding. I don't know how it goes.
What I would say is that there's a lot more. Sometimes your intangibles on a job are more important. There's everybody looks at, well, they're paying 50 cents more an hour, so I'm gonna go over there, and then then it's like, well, yeah, but they hire up for big projects and fire for.
In games, we became very aware that there were people that got hired and were instantly shopping their resumes around.
Yeah.
To where they never really had to sit so long that they went through the whole crunch thing and all that.
Yeah.
They were always just getting the new, better job.
Oh
And
yeah,
there is a certain kind of game that is played by people that are
I
good
think that
enough good enough to sell themselves like that.
yeah. I used to work with a girl, and literally like this was years ago when you couldn't hire somebody that knew computers. We would hire artists and then train them on computer stuff, train them to use Adobe and that sort of thing.
Hmm.
And she literally told I was the one that was assigned to train her, and she literally told me, I want to learn enough so I can go out and get a better job. And I
Yeah,
was like,
exactly. So this is a stepping stone. Thanks.
yeah, it's like, okay, well, we and my boss is very active about weeding out people like that now,
Yeah.
especially nowadays, because like,
Well,
we
you
don't.
know
I
what?
mean,
It is hard to say that you don't want a complete self-absorbed narcissist, because those people that come along that are like that tend to be extremely competent for the most
oh
part,
yeah,
because there is a thing about, but at the
yeah,
same time it's like saying, oh, all right, you're completely everything we could ever want, but you know
yeah,
you're here and gone. What good did that
yeah.
do us, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I'll say this about my company. My company very much rewards loyalty. I feel like, as somebody that's been there for over 30 years.
That's what I
Um,
can't get over. I've never had a job for, I think max has been 4, maybe 5 years.
yeah, I mean, I've never, I don't, I'm a very, um, I don't know. I like routine. I don't necessarily. I mean, I've looked at other jobs. I've talked, and in fact, one of the places that I have applied at is a place, I don't want to say the name, but here locally that as soon as the coronavirus hit, fired their entire art staff.
Yeah, yeah, I think
No
I know who you're
severance
talking
pay
about.
or nothing. Oh, you know
Oops.
who I'm talking about. Let's put it this way: it's a store that I've defended because
Sure,
they
sure. Yeah, yeah. Because
because people
everybody's
kind
always
of
attacking them. Yeah.
everybody always attacking them, and I'm like, and now I don't know if I'll ever set foot in one, Ellis. That did it for me because it's like
Well,
if
you
you could treat
realize
your
you realize the bookkeepers and the suits uh, just coming along and telling somebody, well, we can save this or that, and there is no heart to anything that allows that to go on. You know.
right, and unfortunately, I think they've couched. Well, here's one
I
thing.
say that, and I'm pretty sure 99% of everything out there is like that.
Well,
Your company would be the exception.
probably so, actually. And
And the
hey, and
only reason government work is better than that is because if it happens to the lowliest guy, in terms of like getting kicked out of his job, it could happen to the guy at the top. And the
yeah,
guy at the top,
yeah,
to insulate himself, make sure that nobody can get fired for cause, you know.
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. So anyway, so
I just wanted to make that extremely divisive
yeah,
political statement. I just felt like it.
yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
That's okay. That's okay. Hey, it's your video stream.
Hey, it's my stream. Don't
Anyway,
cross
but
the
yeah,
stream. Go
I'm
ahead.
I'm next week I'll be back in the office full time. And I'm glad, man, working at home kind of sucks. My wife is tired of it and she has to work here for probably another month at least.
Yeah, it's just kind of
And
abstract when you're working at home. It's like, okay, did I
do
work?
I have a job?
Was I working just now? I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, yes. And that exactly is what's getting to her.
Yeah.
It's not, I mean, she's like, not happy. And I was telling somebody today, I think, you talk about your PTSD and not trying to minimize anybody that's had
Has got the real thing.
has
Yeah.
yeah, it's got the real thing. But I think we're going to see a bunch of people 6 months, a year from now that are like, I've been stuck in my house for months and months, and I'm so freaked out that that
Well,
I mean I don't.
yeah, there's a lot of people kind of already starting to get that narrative going,
Yeah.
and I suspect kind of weird new disability claims and such
Oh,
to
sure.
come about.
And there'll be people that'll fake it, and there'll be completely people that are completely dealing with it, and it'll all be caused because we had to shelter in place or whatever
Mhm.
we're calling this. Um, it'll just be this idea that, and but I've said all along, I predicted that Memorial Day people would just go ape.
Yeah,
I don't know if that
and they
happened.
did, and they did,
Did they?
and the media tried to shame them for it. And the funniest thing I've seen, everybody's probably seen this at this point, but there's this one guy with a mask on. That's another thing. They're trying to hit on all the every time they can get the angle that Trump is a savage for not wearing a mask. So they've decided they all need to wear masks.
Oh
So
yeah.
this guy in front of the camera, he's got his mask on, and he's like shaming everybody around him in this crowded situation on the boardwalk somewhere. And there's this guy that's circling him with an iPhone, and he's trying to kind of like ignore him and all that. But they finally decide to
Called
point the camera at
Ellis.
him and say, "What? What? Are you there?"
Yeah, I'm here. I got a phone call. Just somebody called me. I hung up on him. I told him I'd be on the live stream, but they called. So what'd you
Oh,
say?
okay.
Start that story over again. I missed it.
Okay. Well,
Does
this
it?
newsman was basically sitting out with a mask on, trying to shame everybody at this beach kind of area, and
Oh, okay.
it turns out that his cameraman didn't have a mask on either.
Oh, oh,
And
nice.
so it's like it was just it was just
So
for the narrative's sake that he
he was literally saying this as he was looking at a fellow employee without a mask on.
no, there's a guy that was
Oh, so
documenting.
somebody caught it.
Yeah, and says
Oh,
like your cameraman.
oh yeah.
And the guy got kind of flustered. That's what's funny. He's captured being all flustered by this guy catching him saying, yeah, okay. He's just like saying, okay, yeah, you got me.
Well, it's just like they caught oh, what's a Kumo's brother, who the one that's on MSNBC or whatever has got
Yeah,
what is he on CNN or MSNBC?
yeah,
But
I think it's CNN.
he's been diagnosed, and they caught him. A guy caught him looking at a house. The guy's walking his neighborhood, and he's having a house built like in his neighborhood, and he's like, "What are you doing out here? Don't you have coronavirus?" And he's like, "Hey, it's none of your business." You know,
Yeah.
got real belligerent with the guy. It's just it's because it's just like a lot of things. People don't believe it. You can't look at what people say. You got to look at what they do. And
Hmm.
because people will tell you something that they don't believe, and anyone that thinks that's not true is crazy.
Oh
And
yeah.
I don't care what it is. It could be any topic. Celebrities do it all the time. They'll tell you one thing, but then then you watch. It's like, wait a minute. I mean, it's just like global warming. If all these people that thought global warming was as dire as they claim, they would not live the way they live. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
Yeah. No,
if you
absolutely.
thought, your grandkids would be walking around in a marsh, you wouldn't have a 80,000 square foot house or three of them or whatever. And
Exactly.
none of those, they all fly in private jets, but they'll try and get other people not to do it. But it's just look at what people do. Not don't listen to what they say, or At least make sure they match up. If they don't, they're full of crap.
Yeah.
And to be fair, there are some celebrities that do, but not very many. Not,
Well, the ones that actually behave in a completely politically correct way are usually completely insane, like Ed Begley Jr.
Yeah.
It's like he's taking the bus
Yeah.
in the as a celebrity running around, and you really want to try to avoid taking the bus in LA.
Yeah.
It's just like
I've done it. It sucks.
yeah.
It's not a fun trip. Well, and yeah. Anyway, but yeah, so I don't know what got me started on that little rant.
I probably did.
I'll blame you. It's Ellis's
Okay,
fault.
there you go.
And again, I'm not here. I mean, I'm not saying one thing or another. I'm just saying watch what people do. Don't watch what they say. If somebody tells you, you need to support this cause or that cause, are they supporting it? Are they,
Yeah.
or is it one of those, hey, support this cause, and they feel like they don't have to support it because they got everybody else to.
Yeah, they've got their carbon credit on their on their virtue. Yep.
They can punch a little virtue card with, and I wouldn't even restrict it just to global warming. I would say it applies to everything and anybody, and not just select. I'm not just picking on anybody. If somebody tells you, whatever. I'm a great Christian, and then they're cheating on their wife or whatever.
Yeah.
You have to go. Well, okay, well,
So you regularly listen to the Ethan Van Sciver streams, right? Don't you?
They're too long, but I occasionally. What's the deal? Like him and Doug are mad at each other, or Doug's?
No, it's not him and Doug. They've right. What's funny is the evolution. It would appear that the main guys that back Ethan Van Sciver with almost like saying, "Well, we're there for you, no matter what." All that's been flipped lately. Now those guys are fighting among each other. So it's really interesting.
Are you talking about you talking about like their sycophants that they have on the show, or like monetary supporters?
They're sycophants.
Oh, so like a Mike S. Miller or something?
No.
Oh,
Miller is long gone from the whole scene on that.
Oh, is he?
Oh yeah.
But he's buddies with Doug, isn't he?
Yes, but I guess you know even less about it than I do. Okay.
Yes.
So I thought I was going to be talking to somebody that I might actually might
Learn
know
from?
something about it, but not really, huh?
Dude, I've been erasing. You saw my eraser. I've been busy.
No, I'm not talking about anything you could update yourself on in the past 5 minutes. I'm talking about.
No, I mean, I'm talking about how my eraser got that small.
Okay.
So Mike is out of crowdfunding, or is he out of
No,
Comicsgate?
he's into crowdfunding, but it's not with the. He's not part of the team now that is allowed to, get the signal boost from Ethan Van Sciver.
Oh, well, no. What did he do?
Nothing. That they decided that what he had done was bad for their, their gender challenged crowd, that they didn't want offended because of Mike's attitudes. So they.
So they don't like Doug either, then.
Oh no, they hate Doug.
Oh.
So,
Okay.
So that's the way all that. So it's easy for me. All I have to hear is that they hate the two people I know in the group, and it's like,
Yeah,
that's not my group.
Right. I know who. Well,
I know where my side's at, and
Exactly.
that's the way you were. That's the way you want everything. It's like pick a side, And it's
exactly.
you know,
Well, it's unfortunate, but the thing about Doug is Doug to me,
he just tries to
Doug.
tell you and make it clear to you that he does things for a reason because
Yeah,
he absolutely believes this way. And
yes.
and people don't, and people in this day and age say, well, will that hold up to my constant browbeating of you about your
Yeah,
right to hold that belief?
yeah. Well,
Yeah,
the problem people have, the problem with Doug for some of these guys is Doug has got the goods in terms of, he's the real, and I think Ethan too.
yeah. I mean,
Ethan is
no,
a
no,
guy.
all of them are professionals. Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, Doug. You can't hate on Doug because I mean you can hate on him, but you can't argue that Doug is not know how to make and sell. I mean you know he's made and sold more books than
Yeah, and been
I mean
underwritten by all kinds of people that believed in what he was up to. Yep.
yeah, he's got hey, let's face it. Doug's career was made when he created Earthworm Jim. However that may have happened,
Yeah.
whether it was his inspiration or whatever, I don't, he had his name on it, and for whatever reason, he had the foresight to put his name on that game. Because I mean, I remember seeing it. Doug, Earthworm Jim, created by Doug TenNapel, had no
Hmm.
clue who he was. Um, and then years later, I see, oh, they did Creature Tech. I'm like, oh, I know that name. Oh, he's the guy that did Earthworm Jim.
Yeah. After he did Earthworm Jim, here he comes along, does the neighborhood. But in order to get all of that funding and everything, he buried the neighborhood under even more legal difficulties as far as extracting it again at a later time. And I
Oh
think
yeah.
I think he could really do more with the neighborhood if that was something that he could get away from the lawyers. But it'd be a hopeless case of trying to get it done.
Now, was the Neverhood was a game or it was a game
Yes, it
studio?
was a game and a studio,
Okay.
but it was a very good little PC game. Where you
Wasn't it claymation looking?
yeah, it was
Or am I
clay.
thinking,
It was claymation looking.
was it
And
actually claymation?
yes, in a lot of cases, at least the sprites were,
Oh, okay.
physically recorded and as claymation work, claymation animation. Yeah, claymation animation. That's
Gotcha.
redundant,
Yeah. Well, that's okay. We'll,
but you get
we'll
it.
forgive
Yeah,
you.
it's like Leica Studios or whatever, made a game,
Oh, yeah. I
which
got you.
which
So,
those guys are amazing. Whenever somebody shows a clip of those guys at work, it's the best thing on the internet at any time.
oh, yeah.
Leica, I guess is how they're pronounced.
Micah, what'd they do? That name sounds familiar.
The first big hit was, I think, James and the Giant Peach,
Oh, okay.
and then they had the recently the Box Trolls,
Okay, okay. And
and
they
what
did,
else? Oh,
what was the one about the zombie kid or whatever?
yeah, that was good.
What was that?
I
Yeah,
don't
that's
know.
right. Yeah. Paranorman, not zombie kid. He wasn't a zombie kid. He
Yeah,
saw a
paranormal.
ghost. Was it paranormal or Paranorman? Because his name was Norman.
Here's somebody named Wim. Oh, I know him. Yeah, yeah, he's on my timeline all the time and on Twitter.
Yeah.
WC got in a fight with the JAC of the Jack Show. Oh, here, I'll just put it on there. There we go. Here we can read it.
Yeah, put it up there so we can see it.
Yeah, yeah. EBS got caught in the
I'm
middle.
watching.
I only hate Vicky, Poulter, and the other two who called Tug's kid a whore. Okay,
What?
I don't know.
Isn't
Seriously, it's
Tug's
all.
kid like really young?
I think so. I think about 6 or 7.
Okay, wait. Who? I see. I don't know who Jack is.
No, no. I
Who's
mean,
Doug? I don't.
yeah, I know who Poulter is. Poulter is the one who did the legal trick of copyrighting Comicsgate as a legal matter,
Oh, geez.
just to stir things up.
Okay. That see.
See, yeah, yeah.
I'm okay. So no offense to Wim and or anybody else who's maybe listening, but my problem with this is my problem with a lot of comics now. There's so much drama. It's like holy cow, man.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you pay attention to this, and I'm following everybody that's marginally involved in it, so I should know and not need Wim to tell me how how it all works. But you still do. There's just too many personalities.
Yeah.
There's this bunch that gets together, and let's see, one of them's name is he's got kind of an Irish or English accent.
Okay.
And he gets about 4 of the usual guys together with him, and they just get really passionate about running everybody down. That
Yeah.
they figure needs running down at the time.
Yeah. I mean, you know me, Ellis. I try and be a positive guy. I
Yeah, yeah.
figure, I don't know. It's too bad because I think the Comics Gate has some valid points about some aspects of the industry, but it just became such a
Well,
magnet for
there's a difference
trouble.
between being a charming curmudgeon and a guy who needs to, because he's established, he's got a content he has to put out on daily,
Yeah,
and you
gotta
realize
get them
you
super
realize
likes.
you've made yourself a trap. It's like,
Yeah,
okay, I had this narrative yesterday. Well, it's like, heck, it's no different than being a one of these current
prostitute.
current guy, one of these guys on CNN that is they're stuck with.
Yeah,
Uh,
they could never turn around and say,
yeah,
Trump
yeah,
ain't so
yeah.
bad.
Trump ain't so bad. What are
Well,
we doing here? Hey,
yeah,
look, tomorrow, guys, let's have a new look at this Trump guy.
maybe we should give him a second
Yeah,
chance.
they're stuck.
Yeah, well, to be fair, the other side is too. I mean, everybody's that, and that's the problem.
Well, no, our
Because
side is always ready to say, "Well, okay, do you mean it? Okay, we'll try to start over." There's always a
yeah,
sucker born every minute on the right side.
well, I think that's true. Even though my liberal friends would argue with that. Hang on
Well,
just a second.
that's
I'll
what they
step
do.
away from the camera.
Yeah,
Yeah. No. I had to go get. I looked up. My phone's about dead, as per usual, but I got a charger.
well, we've been at it for 43 minutes, so it'll probably make it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got 20%. It'll make it. Here, I'll put the charger right there. Well, see, this is perfect then because I've just about got all these erased.
Very
This is
good.
my favorite. This is my favorite panel in this comic, Ellis. I don't know if you can see this.
Solo it.
I don't know if you can see this. So, the
Looks good.
angel's carrying a bomb, and on it, I had her paint the word "bad mother." Oh, Wim said none taken. I saw that flash on my phone.
Yeah. I was worried, I guess, about offending him or something like that.
Well, I mean,
And,
I don't want to. I mean, I just think that there's just life is too short to go around and piss everybody off.
yeah, Wim is saying I think I've turned a robot or something. So that's always bad.
You have.
Uh-oh. Well, I'm ready to quit then. I hate that when my sound goes bad.
Why's your son go bad?
I don't know. It may be because I'm using a USB type of linkage. Well,
But it was fine earlier.
let's see. Maybe if I unplug it and plug it back in.
Try it. Now he's gone. I don't hear Ellis. Ellis, are you back?
I
Oh, there
think
you
so.
are.
I think so. What? How's that?
That's perfect.
Okay, good. Well, it worked then.
You had
Good.
you had 40 minutes of good, and then it needed to be rebooted.
Yep.
Now we got to talk for longer. I got one more page.
Okay. Very good.
So
Hey,
what'd you do
Wim.
today?
Okay. Nothing. Oh yeah, I did. I did a lot of stuff. What am I talking about? I did nothing. No, I've got a new lifestyle anymore. I spend
Oh yeah.
I spend 4 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, working at this sort of stuff before all day long until 6 o'clock before I allow myself to do anything as dumb as get on Twitter.
Oh yeah. I don't know why you're even on Twitter, man.
Twitter is, it's addictive, and
Yeah.
and in the same way with Facebook, which I'm not on.
Yeah. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter, but I don't post.
Well, it's probably a good idea.
And I never look at it. I mean, occasionally someone will message me and I'll look at it, but I just read it, and then it's just like so much garbage.
Well,
And I
yeah.
don't. Who cares what somebody else thinks?
So anyway, I do that. I do that from don't allow myself on until 6 o'clock, and that has changed my life already. And then the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday time block, I allow myself on. But I try to just of late, this Tuesday and this Wednesday, I have been learning Blender.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Blender is coming fast and furious for me because obviously, as a guy that did a lot of 3D and Maya, all you have to do is show me the right buttons and explain where everything I was used to in Maya was, and I'll get Blender. So
You're a robot again, Ellis.
oh crap.
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't want to tell you.
No, it's better.
Oh, it's getting worse. Hey, you're gone. He may have unplugged again.
I did unplug, and now I'm back.
Yeah,
is
you're
that
fine
better?
now. Yeah, you're fine.
I'm getting tired of that.
You're
Anyway,
getting
so
tired of it.
yeah,
We have to listen to it.
I know it. No, it is excruciating to listen to, or try to even listen to.
Yeah. So Blender, Blender's free, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's cool.
and it is one hell of a program. Let me tell you.
Really?
Oh yeah.
I think John Byrne uses Blender for 3D models.
I bet he does.
I think it's Blender. He's on a Mac. Is Blender a Mac thing?
It can be. They have any version you want, including, since it's such a, I forget what you call that one. It's like a Wikipedia. Anybody can contribute to its making of it.
Oh, it's open source.
It's open source. And yeah, it's even got, what do you call that? The other operating system that only eggheads use.
Oh, Linux.
Yeah, Linux. I should know all this stuff.
I can read your mind.
Yeah, thank you.
Put your robot again.
Okay, right. I'm done for tonight. How about you?
Are you done? Okay, yeah, that's cool.
Okay. Well, I'm going to end the broadcast. Take it easy. You want to say anything without robot?
Yeah, let me say something since you're completely robot. Hopefully, I'm not. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I don't know if we had anybody else besides Wim listening. If you want to check out my art, you can. I'm at scottsackett.org, and I'm on all the social medias as Scott Sackett, and I'm working on a book called Heaven's Rejects. Hopefully, it'll be coming out probably late 2020 or early 2021, hopefully. But we're trucking along on it. I'm very happy with the project. Ellis has just put out a book called The Locust Bride, I got it off Amazon. You can order off Amazon, and I got it off Amazon, and I'm reading it. It's a screenplay, so it's written like a screenplay with dialogue written out. I'm reading it. I'm not done with it, Ellis, but I'm enjoying it. It's pretty good. I recommend it. That'd be a way that you could throw a couple bucks Ellis's way.
Thanks a lot. I'll try to put all these links in here if I. That'll be something I do with my Thursday. Hey, I'll end it now.
Okay.